Rockaway Borough Land Use Board to order. And our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, so all rise, please. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Land Use Board Open Public Meeting Act Statement of Adequate Notice. I hereby announce and state that adequate notice of this meeting was provided by the Secretary of the Rockaway Borough Land Use Board by preparing a notice dated January 7, 2025, specifying the time, date, and place of this meeting, posting such notice on the bulletin board of Borough Hall, filing said notice with the clerk of the county of Morris, and publishing the notice in the Daily Record newspaper. I hereby hand a copy of such notice to the Secretary of the Borough of Rockaway Land Use Board for inclusion in the minutes of this meeting. All of the above being in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 et sequitur Open Public Meeting Act, and I'm Kevlar, chairperson. I would like everyone that's here to note that in the event we have to leave the room in a hurry, there is an exit ahead of you to your right or behind you to your left. And the board has decided no new cases will be heard after 9:30 and no testimony after 10 p.m. Hands over. And then we have a roll call for who's here, please.
Mayor Tom Mulligan is excused. Ken Vanmore.
Here.
Bruce Barnes is on vacation. Ron Hammond.
Here.
William Hopler.
Here.
Mark Howard.
Here.
Jim Curley is excused. Barbara Koch. Here. Janet Leonard. Here. Bob Schaefer.
Here.
Kim Rose is absent. And Chairman Blair.
Here. So we have a quorum tonight. The first order of business is we've received two sets of minutes for our July 1st and July 23rd meeting. Hopefully we've had a chance to review them, and will someone care to make a motion to discuss it?
I'll make a motion to approve the July 1st meeting minutes with one small correction, it's just a typo.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion, a second, and what's the correction, the discussion now?
Under roll call, individuals that were present, it should say Councilman Jim Hurley, strike that and, then my name, Barbara Koch, Janet Letterman, Kim Rose, that's it, just strike the end.
Got it, thank you. Any other discussion on the July 1st minutes? Seeing none, does anybody object to accepting the minutes with the one correction made? Seeing none, would you please cast a unanimous ballot for the minutes? That leaves us with the July 23rd minutes.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Okay, any discussion on them? Seeing none, does anyone object to accepting the minutes that we were presented with? Seeing none, again, please cast a unanimous ballot for accepting the minutes as written, and thank you very much. Now we have a resolution to go over. It's LUB 105 for 311 West Main Street, which is Route 46, out front media. You had a chance to read what was put together, hopefully. Would anybody in care to make a motion on this resolution?
I'll make a motion to approve it as it stands.
Second.
Okay, now is there any discussion? Seeing none, then we have a roll call vote, please.
Ken Vanmore.
Yes.
Ron Hammond.
Yes.
William Hopler.
Yes.
Mark Howard.
Yes.
Barbara Koch.
Yes.
Bob Schaefer.
Yes.
And Chairman Blair.
Yes, so the resolution is accepted as written. Thank you very much, sir. And now we have our first application of the day. It's LUB 102, which is 9 Kelly Court. And Counselor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Before we get started, just for the record, we've all received all the documentation that's been supplied and all the reports that have been supplied. The board's seen them before the meeting. And the board members had wished to have all had the opportunity to go and look at the property on their own, to see it. So I will turn the meeting over to you, sir.
Well, if at any time you think I'm going a little too much with the testimony, you can kind of flag that.
Very good, thank you.
So for the record, I'm Richard Oller, it's O-L-L-E-R, I'm the attorney for the applicant, Sergio Sanchez. And as the chairman said, this property is located at 9 Kelly Court, we're in the R1 zone. So our application is going to be for either 1 or 2 variances, and I'll kind of give you a little bit more on that in a second. But the application itself is to maintain a pool which has now been built, patio, and a gazebo. And the testimony is going to show that there were permits issued for the construction of the pool and the permit. And during that construction, Mr. Sanchez wanted to put up a gazebo, so there was a little bit of a change in the patio design, and the gazebo was placed on top of the patio, all right? So, what happened was when he went back to amend the permit for the gazebo, to add the gazebo, it was noticed that the impervious coverage was higher. And so it was flagged for the additional impervious coverage. Okay? So the property itself started out at just over 30% impervious coverage. The original plan had it at 36.6%. And then with those modifications during construction, it went up a little bit to just over that 38.8%. And the reason I said there may be 2 variances, so impervious is the first variance. The reason I said there may be 2 is I think there's perhaps a discrepancy in the ordinance. There's the 2 sections that talk about accessory structures and where they can be located. There's one part of the ordinance that says if it's in the rear yard, which is behind the house, right? So if it's in the rear yard, it indicates that it could be 5 feet from the side yard. And another one, your other ordinance says that accessory buildings need to be 10 feet from the side yard. So at some point, we'll go into those a little bit more, and I'll ask the board to just interpret if in fact there's a variance. I would also point out we're kind of splitting the difference on that 5 and 10 currently, as it worked out. And John, I did notice for both variances,
Yes.
depending on however the board has per our discussion.
The notice and the proof of service are in order, thank you.
Thank you. So I have 2 witnesses this evening. One is the owner, Sergio Sanchez. He'll take us through what he did to get his permits and construction, and he'll describe the backyard. And Jeffy Gary, who prepared that original plan, and then the subsequent plan that you have, right? So unless you have any questions for me off the bat, I'll bring up Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you very much. We'll proceed.
So if you raise your right hand to be sworn.
Mr. Sanchez, do you solemnly swear that the evidence you're about to give before this board will be the entire truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we know who you are, but please state your name and spell your last for the record.
Sergio Sanchez, S-A-N-C-E-Z, 9 Kelly Court.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Sergio, you are the owner of the property, is that right?
Yes.
And when did you purchase it?
July 27, 2017.
And from the time you purchased it in 2017 until the time you applied for permits and did some work in the backyard for your pool, did you make any other improvements outside in the house, on the property?
The only improvement I did exterior was the fence. I put a fence behind the property.
You didn't add anything that would have increased any impervious coverages from the time you purchased the property?
No.
So, then there came a time when you decided you were going to build a built-in pool, right?
Yes.
So, can you tell us the procedure that you went through to do that?
I contacted Olympic Pool in Saddlebrook, only because I've done business with them in the past. They came over, they gave me an estimate, they looked at my property, and they said, you may need a retaining wall. So I need to contact an engineer. That's how I became in contact with the engineer. Then we used his service, he did a plan, we submitted it to the town approved it. I contacted the pool guy, he went and got his permit and started building the pool from there forward.
So it was your contractor who applied for the permits?
Yes.
He did all that work?
Yes.
So, Chairman, I think in your packages, we provided a copy of the original plan. This is the one that was from the town, has a red stamp, yours has a black stamp, just the way they copied, right? So this was the original plan, and let me ask you, do you recognize this to be the original plan that was submitted to the township, this plan dated December 2nd, 2022? Where's the plan? Yes. So now, I'll just point out that on the zoning data, on this plan, it showed the improved coverage, as proposed to be 36.6%, and that a variance was required. But nonetheless, those permits were issued shortly after the plan was submitted. John, do you want this one marked, or?
It's part of the application.
I think we're good with that. So, so as a result of an Oprah search we did for permits, I have a package for a whole bunch to do here. You can just hand that there and pass that away. John, I'll mark this one as A1.
Yes, thank you.
Alright, so Sergio, we're just gonna kind of run through this package. The first page appears to be, the application, and is that your signature?
Yes.
2/3 of the way down. And then you'll notice on the bottom it is signed by zoning. And then on the second page, you'll see the zoning permit was issued on January 5th. Incidentally, that was very quick, because this was dated January 4th. And then on January 5th, 2023, on the second page, we have the zoning permit. And it's just for his property, indicating permitted by ordinance, signed by the zoning officer. The next page is dated on the top right, March 24, 2023. Again, the construction permit for building, electrical, and plumbing, again, signed by the construction official. The next page is dated, these are in date order, June 8th, 2023. Again, this was an update to the permit for plumbing work. And the update, the paragraph in there, which I should have mentioned before, stays consistent, is in-ground swimming pool 16 by 36 for private use to be installed in rear yard as per grading plan provided. And the update is for the pool heater. And then the next page you'll see is the jacket when he applied for the permit for the pergola, showing it at 12 by 16 with the kit. The subsequent page dated June 10th was a denial of that application for the, for that permit, because that's when it was pointed out that there was excessive impervious coverage. The following page dated July 10th, 2024, again, a permit update. This update is update B, is for the gasoline to the pool, for the pool heater. Again, that's in that description of work paragraph. And then the final page is just indicating zoning denied it, and it's going to the language board, and here we are. So, Sergio, in your mind, did you think you had, up until you applied for that last permit, which was denied, did you think that you were doing everything right and you applied for the proper permits?
Yes.
And they were issued? And there were inspections along the way, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Right, and did any of the inspections fail?
No.
So, let me show you a photograph. Was this photograph taken recently?
Yes,
And who took this photograph?
I did.
by use of drone?
Yes.
Design? Okay. John, I'll mark this one A2.
Thank you.
Just pass that one around as we talk about it a little bit. Sorry, I only have the one to pass around.
While the board is looking at the photograph, so the permit for the pergola was submitted after the pergola was constructed. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Oh.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Was it submitted because an inspection revealed that it had been constructed and asked for the permit to be submitted, or?
It was, I think I was going through the final, inspection to get it to close out, and
Okay.
then I didn't know you needed a permit for pergola, it was do it yourself kit,
Right.
so I just put up, he says, you need a permit for this, I'm like, okay, and then that's how we got to the permit usage, and it goes, oh, by the way, and that's when I'm like, whoa.
Okay. And now the pergola has, I guess I can probably see it in this photo, the pergola also has pavers underneath it that are the same style as like the coating around the pool and
It's
everything.
actually, cement.
Cement, okay, and it's, so is the pergola affixed to the cement
Yes.
footings? Thank you.
Pergola itself did not increase the impervious coverage. did it?
No, the patio, and the engineer will kind of discuss what the original plan in this plan, there was a little change in the patio dimension. The only issue with the pergola is whether or not it needs a side yard variance.
Gotcha.
So while that picture is being taken around a bit, let me just ask you, so you took this photograph, remember what day you took it?
I took it Sunday.
This Sunday, okay, so this picture accurate?
Oh, I'm sorry, Monday.
Monday? So 2 days ago?
Yes.
So does this picture accurately portray what your rear yard looks like?
Yes.
Can you describe that pergola to us a little bit? Do you know the height of that pergola?
Yeah, so the pergola is a 16 by 12, and the height approximately 7 feet 5 inches. I actually have it written down my, yeah. Do you have the picture? Oh, there it is, I'm sorry. Yeah, so 16 by 12 by 7.55 feet.
And when you say 7.55, that's the height?
The height.
Just over 7.5 feet high?
Yes.
So now, there is a little change in the design, the as-built versus the original design. The pool seems to have shifted a bit. Can you explain why that happened?
There was multiple factors there that made the pool shift a couple feet to the left. One being rocks, and 2 being my wife. She wanted the pool centered. So the wife won.
And as far as you know, the pool's still within the required setbacks?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Um, To answer one of the town engineer's questions, are there any utility lines over the top of the pergola?
No.
I don't think I have anything else for him.
Thank you. Are there any questions for this witness from our professionals?
I just one follow-up question, this was also noted in my report. As part of any of this construction, the pool, the patio, the pergola, were any trees removed from the property?
No, I own no trees on my property.
Well, then you wouldn't need a tree removal permit if there's no trees, right? All right, thank you.
Any questions from the board members for this witness? Is there anyone here from the public that would like to question?
I'd like to ask a question first.
Go ahead, sir.
So for the homeowner, the original plan showed that the pool was gonna be 40 feet from your property line. And the new plan shows it at 28 feet from the property line with the pergola on there and an additional patio pavers. Right, so all that was done after the fact, after you were working with these plans, the original plan, correct?
The pool shifted, yes,
Yes.
and what was the second part of the question, sir?
You have the pergola patio, I'm gonna call it, and then you have the paver patio, which wasn't on the original plan either. So when that, all that.
Oh, yes, so that's what we put on the paver bench patio, is that what we're talking about?
Well, it says here paver patio on your new plans. that go to your steps to go to your deck. Where the original plan had nothing.
Right, had stairs down to a grass there.
Right.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
you,
When did all that
there's
change?
continuity now.
I wanna know when that changed.
When we were designing the paving, if you can notice for the original, we'll call it pergola pavers, it actually got smaller. And then we put it here to connect it so we wouldn't get grass on our feet when we went from the pool to the deck.
Okay, and then you didn't reapply to the town or tell the town you were doing that, you just went and did it.
Yes, again, I get it done.
No further questions.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Is there anyone here from the public who would like to ask a question about what they just heard? Seeing none, we don't have to open the meeting to the public. And thank you very much, sir. You ready to, you have more questions or your next witness?
I have, my next witness.
Thank you.
So I'll call Jeffrey Garrigan, please.
Good evening. Do you solemnly swear the evidence you're about to give before this board should be the entire truth?
I do.
And identify yourself, please, with your professional address for the record.
First name is Jeff, last name is Egarian, Egarian. Business address is 271 Route 46, Fairfield, New Jersey. I am a licensed professional engineer. My license is in good standing.
I think a little bit of, I don't know if Mr. Jerry has appeared before. Have you appeared?
I haven't been before this board, no, but
A little bit of curriculum vitae would be.
Sure. If you just describe your professional background.
yeah, absolutely. Graduate of New Jersey Institute of Technology in 2006, licensed in 2012. Been at this for a little bit of time. I've been working with that since I was 17, and I've been before numerous land use boards all over New Jersey on similar matters.
And your license as a professional engineer is current today?
It is, yes.
We're more than happy to accept you as an expert in your field.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Jeff, you prepared the first plan that was submitted.
That's correct.
Which I have here if you need it. So would you, just describe to the board the first plan design, the impervious coverages in that plan, and then how it compares to the as-built?
Mr. Oler, this is the plan dated December 2nd, 2022.
Yes, it's the one with the copy stamp on it, that's the original plan in your package.
Thank you.
And then the smaller folded one is the as-built.
Sure, so, again, we prepared a site plan and grading plan for the pool project back in 2022, depicted an 18 by 36 in-ground swimming pool with a proposed pool patio, retaining wall, and some surface grading. Relatively simple project. As far as the grading goes, as you can tell, the property, the existing condition slopes from the north to the south, or from right to left if you're looking at the plan, with a change of elevation in about 6 or 7 feet. So certainly we needed a retaining wall for the project. We proposed a wall and working with the pool company and homeowner, and this is the design that was settled upon. The pool project conformed to the bulk table with regard to setbacks, and we, in our lot coverage breakdown, you can see that the existing coverage was over what was allowable at 30.3%, where 25% was required, and then the proposed condition was 36.6%. And the variance was noted in our zoning table and our lot coverage table.
Okay, and that change that occurred during construction where the pool kind of shifted to the right a bit, did that result in a shorter retaining wall, smaller?
I mean, certainly, yes, if you compare the two, from the as-built to the original site plan, yes, it did require less disturbance and a much smaller retaining wall in linear length.
And the pool as it was built is still within the required setbacks?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. So can you spend a little time and talk about the drainage flow? How does this property itself flow?
Sure, so, I mean, obviously the existing conditions of the property, if you take the pool, the patio, retaining wall away, everything flowed from north to south, from right to left, following the existing topography topography and natural drainage patterns on the lot. Certainly, you know, with a change in elevation of approximately 7-8 feet, you're gonna have sheet flow across the lawn area towards the downhill neighbor. With the improvements we propose on the property and the post-construction conditions, drainage patterns, they are maintained in a way that we're not pushing water onto any adjacent properties, but with the inclusion of the retaining walls, the pool patio, and the pool, we essentially created 2 level areas, which again reduces the velocity of the stormwater on the lot, and also reduces the time of concentration of the stormwater flowing across the lot. When you have a level area, level lawn, what that does is it also increases the permeability rate of the stormwater to infiltrate the lawn area. So in a sense, the retaining walls and leveling of the property did improve the drainage conditions. And not to mention, you know, we did essentially put in an 18 by 36 or 750 square foot, let's just call it a bathtub, because any water that hits that pool is gonna stay inside that pool, it's not gonna flow off.
So Jeff, do you have an opinion if there's any drainage impact to the adjoining neighbors of this property?
I visited the property this evening, and that was my intent, was to go and explore those, to see if I saw any signs of erosion, saw any signs of, you know, any sort of stormwater impact on each of the properties, and I couldn't find any.
And do you have an opinion as to whether this property, as it is built, can accommodate the additional drainage from the additional impervious surfaces?
I didn't see any detriment that the property would hold or associated with any detriment to any adjacent properties due to stormwater. You know, I did some numbers and ran some math, and essentially, like I said, the pool is 740 square feet. Being able to hold any water that hits that pool water surface area, it will offset the amount of runoff that is generated by the pool patio. So it could be essentially net zero runoff as a result of the pool and the patio.
I don't have any other questions for him.
Thank you. Second one. Do our professionals have any questions for this witness?
I have a couple follow-ups. So Jeff, when the original plan was provided to the applicant, Mr. Sanchez, did you note to him that a variance was required? Did you explain to him the appropriate?
I can't recall what we did in 2022, but most certainly in communication with the pool company that wanted to fill the permits, and it's right on my zoning table. We typically have that discussion because we don't want any surprises.
Right.
I'm sure, you know, I'm almost positive that was discussed before the plans left my office, that the variance would be required, and, you know, there was no way around it since we were over to begin with.
Right. And so you would say, to your surprise, you didn't hear back once you got your plans approved by your client, you sent your signed and sealed copies out, and then you didn't hear anything, right?
You don't hear anything unless there's a problem, and when permits are issued, you know, the next time I heard about this project was when we were doing the asphalt.
When you were doing that stuff, okay. So, and just for the board, that's kind of standard practice, you know, if you, as an engineer, you submit it, if there's no issues on the plans, you're not gonna hear anything. You don't even know if it got built the right way. Normally, you only get called again if there is an issue, they need an as-built or something like that. So just to clarify, that's fairly normal. So, you know, by not hearing back, it didn't sound the alarms to you. In your mind, it just maybe it was never built or, you know, something like that. Okay. So thank you for the, you know, comments on the drainage pattern. The patio that's around the pool, is that graded toward the pool, away from the pool? Like how does any water that hits that surface, which I believe the applicant said was a concrete patio surface, where does that drain to?
The patio directly around the pool itself is pavers, with gaps.
Okay,
The patio where the pergola is situated
I see, okay.
is concrete.
Mhm.
And obviously, yes, the patio does slope away from the pool, towards the lawn area. So, for the majority of the pool itself, it's I think a 3 or 4 foot walk if you include the coping. And yet it flows to a heavily lawn area, which is essentially flat.
And you spoke about how the pool itself, so the pools are not counted as impervious coverage for kind of obvious reasons that they, well, sometimes do count them, so I shouldn't say that, but it does hold water. Generally, the water level in the pool is how much lower than the top of it?
Typically 6 inches below the coping.
So, would you say that it has the capacity to hold 6 inches of water over that area?
Yeah, so, you know, I did run some math on that, so at 740 square feet, at 6 inches, that's essentially 2,700 gallons of water that that pool will hold.
And if you had to equate that to something the board's a little bit more familiar with, like a standard 1,000-gallon dry well, how many would that be?
Standard 1,000 gallon, it can be comparable to that same amount of volume if you have 2 or 3 feet of stone on the sides underneath.
Okay, so just so we can kind of put it in terms that we see on plans very often, the amount of water that the pool can hold is about the equivalent of putting a dry well in this backyard. So thank you for that. I don't think I have any further questions at this time, thank you.
So is this a C1 or C, you're gonna go C2 flexible? I'm just trying to understand the variance.
Yeah, well, I think it's certainly a C2, right, because, you know, we do have some slope here, so I think there's some validity to a C1 as well, right? And that's why the pool had to shift a bit during construction, so we do have some topo here to deal with, but primarily a C2.
I have it, you finished, Paul?
Yeah, that was it.
I'm unclear, and probably because I didn't hear it, I'm sure it was testified to. What drove or what modified the construction on the ground to increase the impervious coverage by 1.9%? From the 2022 plan to the 4/29/25 plan.
So the proposed plan from 2022 is 36.6%. The as-built plan that we have is 38.3%. So the primary difference is the patio, which the pergola is situated on right now.
1.7.
So, yeah, it's essentially 284 square feet difference between the plan we submitted in 2022 versus the as-built plan. And that difference really comes down to the connection between the deck and the pool patio today, and the patio of the pergola.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board members, Mark?
Yes. How about the pavers bench? Is that any non-pervious?
The pavers, the bench area for the
There's
pavers?
a paver patio listed on the.
Yes,
plan.
that's
And
included.
then there's a pavers bench
Yes,
that was not there on the original plans. But the deck around the pool was shrunk.
correct. Yes,
Some of that went to the pavers patio and the pavers bench.
so on the as-built plan, there's a call out for rear patios and walks of 516 square feet.
Right.
That pavers bench area is included inside that number.
Okay. And then, because you knew that you were increasing the impervious coverage, was there any thought, we've left in the past, everybody that increases the impervious coverage, was there any thought to putting in a dry well in to make up the difference, so that you wouldn't make an impact at all on the surrounding?
Sure, I completely understand. I wasn't involved, like we mentioned, once we submitted the plans and permits were issued, I was out of it, and.
But even when you submitted plans, you changed the impervious coverage from whatever it was to 36.6, which was still over the amount that you were allowed by code.
Right, and
Right.
in our experience in 2021, and doing similar projects in the town, seepage tanks weren't required, as part of the, site plan and grading plan applications. So obviously in an effort to save money for the homeowners and expense, if it's not required, then we typically don't propose that.
Okay. So that wasn't thought. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions from members of the board? Seeing none, is there anyone here from the public who would like to question what they just heard? Seeing, yes, ma'am. You want your name, please?
Casey Clark, 66 West Flag Street. Just a quick question. So the plan, you got the permits with the proposed impervious coverage of 36.6. because the permits were approved so that you can start construction. And that was already, you haven't been before the board before for this application.
Correct.
The permits were approved with,
With the
yes, that,
original
with that
plan, the
variance already.
permit was issued.
Okay,
Correct.
okay, that's it, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the Board of Professionals? And it's back to you, sir.
I have no other witnesses.
Okay.
The chairman and I looked at that ordinance provision and it's somewhat baffling.
You know, it just came up because in Samantha's report, she mentioned one thing, and then in Joel's report, she mentioned the other.
It's basically, to me, it basically says you're 5 feet away unless the side yard and the backyard line are in keeping, or in line with each other. And something of, I have no idea how it actually refers to neighbor property.
Yeah, that provision at the end doesn't apply to this property, just the way it's set up. So, you know, at one point it says if it's in the rear yard, it's 5 feet, and the other one says comply with the principal building setback.
If the sentiment of the board should be to approve it, then I think we should just include that in the resolution if that is the inclination of the board. I'm sorry, Golda, did you want to add something?
No, it's, you know, sometimes accessory structure ordinances get modified, and I have no idea if it was like an artifact of something got updated, and then they didn't update the fact that it's inconsistent
Yeah.
elsewhere now.
Yeah, it looks
It's
like
just
they
too,
changed something and made it kind of inconsistent and left out a word or
The word
something.
process.
Yeah.
I would say for the board to err on the side of caution.
Yeah, and
We need to take the more restrictive
Yes.
of the two.
when we do our like annual zoning reports, we, you know, identify variances granted for the year,
Right,
but should
sure.
this be granted, like, in these kind of variances, it's worth mentioning in these reports, like, maybe there's this inconsistency, and it's something we,
Thanks, Lou.
I mean, a simple ordinance
Yep.
amendment, cure this.
So you,
I have a few words on the summation.
okay, let me first open the meeting to the public. If there's anyone from the public that would like to offer testimony about what they know about this case, we appreciate it. Seeing no one, we don't open the meeting to the public. Then you want to do your summation and we'll go from there.
Thank you, and just very quickly, it didn't take much time, and it's pretty fresh in everyone's mind, but I just want to point out that he did apply for the permits, he went through the contractor, you know, he's just a regular Joe, doesn't understand the permit process necessarily, and you know, the variance procedures, he just knows this contractor showed up one day and said, have a permit, let's go. So they worked, and then, you know, I think there was, as he said, they hit some rock, and sliding that pool over a little bit actually helped reduce the wall size a bit. The coping, the patio around that pool is a little bit different shape, it's a little smaller to help accommodate that patio that's now underneath the pergola. Now, the pergola is only about 7.5 feet tall, and it's tucked behind a 6-foot high wall, so there's really not a lot of impact or vision to the neighbor. The neighbor's not here to complain about it. It's been that way now for probably a couple of years, and had ample time to know if there was gonna be a water issue or not. And if she's not here complaining, and our engineer has said, you know, the water doesn't even go in that direction, right? It comes more towards the pool anyway. I think the pool, although the water doesn't drain into the pool necessarily, it does capture all the water that falls out of the sky. So it kind of bubbles as a dry well in that respect. I think that, you know, and as we heard from the engineer, the property can accommodate the drainage. And so for all those reasons and what we heard, I would submit to you that there's really no substantial detriment to either of the neighbors on the side of the property. There's no substantial impairment to the zone plan, to the normal household amenity that you see with many of the homes in this neighborhood. So we would ask for approval.
Thank you very much. Members of the board, we need a motion so we can proceed.
I'll make a motion motion to approve as applied for, and we're saying it just needs the C variance, it doesn't need the setback, side yard thing, right? Just C,
Or just the coverage,
Coverage and the setback.
the coverage, okay.
Because one says 5 feet and one says 10 feet and it was built at 7.1,
So we're saying,
err on the side of caution and say that you need the
You need
variance
the
for
10
that as
feet,
well.
you need the 10 feet, so we need a variance for the 3.5 feet.
And we'll put in the annual report that there's an inconsistency so the council can consider amending the,
okay, so again, it's gonna be approved as applied for. That's my recommendation. I make a motion, we approve as applied for.
Is there a second to this?
I'll second it.
Okay, good. Is there any discussion now about this motion?
I'm sorry, just one second. Do we need relief for the foundation that the pergola sits on?
Well, it's
Because I think-
it's part of the current
It's
coverage,
part of the impervious
but
coverage.
the
No,
setback's
not
only to,
that, but in terms of the side yard.
only the structure itself.
I did it to the
No.
structure,
Yeah, we did it to the
I'm
structure.
sorry,
the structure.
they're coincidental with one another, so the foundation doesn't stick out further than?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
Any other discussions or comments or questions? Seeing none, will we have a roll call vote, please?
Ken Vanborg,
Yes.
Ron Hammond,
Yes.
William Buckler,
Yes.
Mark Howard,
Yes.
Barbara Koch,
Yes.
Janet Leonard,
Yes.
Bob Schaefer,
Yes.
Chairman White.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Do the rest of the night.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now we have the switch over now. We're going now with application 112, which is 4 Orchard Street.
Before we do order, do you want to do the resolution? Now, for you?
Ken?
We did out front of you, the resolution?
We did resolution without from you, right?
We did that. We did that.
I was reading that. Sorry.
We're following the agenda fairly well at this point.
I was trying to read some of this.
Oh, you didn't read it at home?
It's really good bedtime, it's nice, it's like,
Later. I started reading some of
Oh, you
what the heck is that?
should be reading it out of order.
What is that?
it. Can't say.
Yes, now I just next call.
Okay, now that things are settled down a bit, I say our next order of business now will be 112 4 Orchard Street. Once again, the board members have all had the opportunity before the meeting to review all the documents provided and the reports, and we've all had the opportunity, we so inclined to visit the property. So, council, we'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Krishna Javeri from Kingbench and Collins. I represent the applicant, Retail West, the owner of the property, 4 Orchard Street, Block 36.01. Lot 19.01 is Kenny Realty. This is a D variance application pursuant to NJSA 40:55D-70D. Applicant is seeking relief from Borough Ordinance 172-72 to demolish an existing single-family home and to construct a new single-family structure in its place in the HC1 zone, highway commercial. The applicant is also seeking any other variance relief that the board deems necessary, and I believe the planner's report indicated a potential C variance might be necessary for the side yard. The applicant is seeking to do this in order to construct a new home for her family and her elderly parents. If they're not able to, they would face an undue hardship as the applicant needs a place to live and to support her extended family. And The board can grant this relief without substantial detriment to the public because there's already a single family home on the site. It's just an instance of replacing the aging structure with a new one. This evening, to offer expert testimony, we have the applicant architect, Tom Chauvet, of Washington Architectural Group, and we have Alex Doherty from John McDonough's office. He's the applicant's planner.
Thank you.
You want to-
Tom. Do you, sir, solemnly swear the evidence you're about to give before this board should be the entire truth?
Yes, I do.
Name, spell the last, and professional address, please.
Thomas Chavette, Chauvette, from the Washington Architecture Group, 930 Mount Kimball Avenue, Morristown, New Jersey, 07960.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chauvet, you have, are you familiar with the architectural plans for the proposed
Yes, I am.
single-family dwelling? And, can you take us through a little, the proposed structure, as opposed to what's currently on the site?
Okay, what's currently on the site is a 2.5 story dwelling. I don't know if you have copies of the original site plan, which is an old structure, and it's only 2.8 feet off the right-of-way. Homeowners would like to remove that and take it down, and build a new house that we propose, setting it back from the street, as well as improving the means. This is the site plan that you have, and the shaded area is the new home. And it's about a 2,500 square foot house. And first floor, you basically have your foyer, an office, living room, living space for kitchen and living room, and then a bedroom on the first floor. That's what homeowner would like to keep it on that one level, so it's that's the main living space, and then with some additional bedrooms and a bathroom on the second floor. From what I understand, as far as setbacks, based on how it was directed, that we would not need any variances for this. And I asked the town zoning officer if we follow the same zoning regulations of 10-foot side yards and 10-foot rear yards. And that's what I indicated on the site plan, just to show that the house fits within that footprint. We set the house back a little further from the street, just so we can keep also a one-car parking space out from the driveway, so we're not hanging out in the street front. And that's basically what we're proposing tonight, with the issue being, it's in an HC1 zone.
So to clarify, the plot plan that you show and the setbacks that you show are for the adjacent R3 zone, which is standard for residential homes.
It was, from my understanding, I was supposed to use the same HC1.
Oh, okay, so you use the HC's
I use
one
the
zone
HC
setback, so it meets all those setbacks,
Meets all those setbacks, correct?
other than possibly an accessory structure, right?
For the
Yeah,
sheds.
yeah.
I'm sorry, say again, Samantha?
So, no, I was just clarifying whether the setbacks that he showed on the plans were for the HC zone, which is the zone that this is in, or if he showed the setbacks for the adjacent R3 zone, which is kind of what you would think that this property maybe should have been zoned as. It meets all the zoning of the HC zone, which is, I have to say, I'm fairly impressed because it is an awkward shaped lot with that triangle, so to be able to fit into those setbacks is pretty interesting. What did you say the age of the existing homes?
Say that again?
The age of the existing
Thought it was
homes?
built in the 1900s.
Built in the 1900s? Approximately, what size is that house?
Yeah.
1,002 square
1,000 square
feet.
feet.
1,002.
And you mentioned that it's very close to the roadway
Yeah,
with
it's
barely
only
any setback.
2.8 feet off the right
Are
away.
there any other pre-existing nonconformities with the existing house that you're aware of?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Any other questions from our board members?
Is that this, no, it's not dual. So there is no, absolutely no frontage on Route 46.
Correct.
Is there anyone here from the public who would like to question what they just heard? Yes, sir. We need to know who you are, sir.
Yes, my name is Edgar François, and I received this letter. It seems related to that.
Yes, sir, that's required. It's everybody within so many feet, or they're requesting the variance, gets a letter telling you that something's going on, and
Okay.
it's up to you to figure out if
Oh.
you need to hear about it, or if you have any comments or questions about what what's
Well, I
going
don't
on.
have any comment. As long as I don't know as long as it's not going to affect my house. I don't know. I don't have any comment on that.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public?
I've been calling to ask his address.
What's his address?
Oh,
For the record.
your last name?
Yeah,
what's your
property address for the record?
My address?
Yeah.
It's 35 Van Dune.
Okay. Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public? Seeing no one, we close the meeting again for the public. And Counselor, back to you.
No further questions from Mr. Charlotte. Our next witness is our client's planner, Alex Doherty from John McDonough's office.
Do you solemnly swear the evidence you're about to give before this board shall be the entire truth?
I do.
If we would have your name, spell your last, and your professional affiliation, please.
Alexander Dougherty, D-O-U-G-H-E-R-T-Y, here on behalf of McDonough Associates at 101 Trafalgar Avenue, Suite 1A, Morris Plains, New Jersey. Testified before this board a few times, and my license is still current and good standing.
And your licenses are all current and up to date?
Yes.
Then we're more than happy to accept you back, sir.
Thank you. For this evening, we prepared an exhibit packet, maps and just drone shots to give a little bit more context of the property. I know the board just, at the start of this, said they visited the site, but we do have that, at least as the board, it's just photographs and a map.
They would be A1 and consecutively thereafter.
So A1 consists of 4 slides.
Perfect.
Everyone have one?
So for purposes of this application, we are on block 36.01, lot 19.01. First line is really reflective of the yellow property is the property in question. As you can see, and as it was just mentioned, it's fairly unique shape. Been doing this for a little bit. I've never really seen a perfect triangle quite as this. But it's very unique. As you've heard, the existing structure really is kind of antiquated. It's 1,002 square feet in size. It sits predominantly on Orchard Street, really right off that right of way right there. And slide 2 really shows you just how close that structure is to the road. And it's the yellow arrow kind of pointing to it. What's also important to note is the large white fence, privacy fence that pretty much runs along the back. Here, that kind of really does split up 46. As again, you see the orientations on Orchard, really facing that R3 zone, which is called out in the planner's memo. And slide 3, we kind of spin the drone around, and as you can see, we have that really unimproved driveway, that circle driveway there. We have off to the right, kind of tapers down to that triangle point, some wooded area. As you see, we have that existing shed off to the left, just behind the white fence. And you know, what's nice about this property from a planning standpoint, as we get to the D1 use variance, the structure really is hidden behind that white fence and that existing black structure with red roof there. So from a visual standpoint, it does kind of feel, as mentioned earlier, that it's in a different neighborhood, a different zone. Really no affiliation with Route 46 or that HC1 highway district. So the next slide, we just kind of spin that around and you know, give you some different perspectives here. So as you saw on the plot plan, we're kind of the plan below that house, antiquated early 1900s, you know, bring with it some consumer, you know, realistic expectations of the housing demand that's here, there, more modern living arrangements, kind of offset that so it's not at that T intersection on Orchard, bring it more to, you know, the side, if you will, and really enhance the overall site. From a planning standpoint, I do think it's a significant investment to the site, which, though we're not in the quote-unquote appropriate zone for residential, this, for lack of better purposes, is a residential neighborhood. But nonetheless, we are here for that D1 use variance, which is a Medici test, 4 prongs. Prong 1 being site suitability. I would argue that this site is suitable for residential by the condition and the context being that it's really in an R3 or facing the R3 residential, and then, you know, the site itself has accommodated a residential home for, you know, many decades. So from a site suitability, I think residential can stay here, you know, by the condition and the context. Prong 2 is the positive criteria. I would argue that this is site betterment here. We're going to take this site, this unique site, and, you know, make residential accommodations here a little bit more reasonable. It's a positive investment here. Desirable visual environment. I think the architectural plans here and what's proposed here is certainly desirable. I would argue that if we were to adhere strictly to the highway commercial corridor, putting a commercial use there, or, you know, potentially the rear of a commercial use there, I think would not be desirable. So I would argue residential is more desirable in this location. Certainly advancing purpose A, the public health, safety, moral, and general welfare. Again, I don't see a commercial property advancing purpose A right there at Orchard, facing Orchard or budding Orchard there. On that last slide, I would also just note some of our neighbors to the rear are also residential, and it's kind of unique, as we just heard, you know, the how to pronounce this, Van Dyne Street is also part of that zone, but again, they're not facing or on budding on 46, it really just drops the residential pretty quick. So I think what we have here is a healthy balance. Properties that are abutting 46, facing 46, having that direct access are more of your commercial corridor intended uses, and those that are kind of captured in that zone are falling into residential if they're not directly on 46. So I think it's, from a planning standpoint, is appropriate. Prong 3 is a negative criteria. I don't see this as any negative effects here. With this proposed project comes best practice from engineering. You know, gives us an opportunity to ensure that, you know, drainage and so forth is accounted for. The home will be built to applicable building codes and fire code regulations. I really do not see any negative effects here with this new proposed home. And Prong 4 is really reconciling with this proposed use. Why is it not in the master plan? You know, it's just gonna undermine the intent of the zone. I would argue it's not gonna erode or undermine the intent of the highway zone. It really has no correlation to Route 46. As I said before, I think it would be inappropriate to, you know, really adhere to that at this particular site. I will also mention that in the 2018 master plan reexamination, they do talk about the HC1 being quote unquote rezoned by name, by title, but there was nothing specifically called out about the properties abutting Orchard or the opposing residential neighborhood. But with that, I conclude, I do think it's site specific, it's in this case neighborhood specific. It's not gonna erode the intent of the overall properties that are above 46 and phase 46 and have a direct ingress and egress. I think this might be one of those properties that, as discussed earlier, in the annual report, in an HC zone. But from a planning standpoint, I do think residential is certainly the most appropriate use for this particular site. So with that, I'll conclude. I believe the proofs have been met for D1 and approval will be warranted. As far as that C relief potential for that shed, I would argue that the C relief is subsumed within that D1 use variance, but I would also note that, for that particular side yard setback, accessory structure, where it's at 1.6, where 12.7 is required, the site is very unique. It comes to a triangle, making the best use of the property there. But I don't see an inherent detriment with that side yard setback. As the existing residential house to our left is fairly spaced apart, and then we have that white privacy fence to the rear, and it's more commercial, not residential, so I don't think we'll have any road true violations. The intent of that adequate black air and open space, purpose C, as we have pretty well spaced out. Again, if we go to the right, you can certainly start to taper down to that point where you're gonna pretty much shred the variance any which way you go. So with that, I'll conclude, very unique site, and I think residential is appropriate.
Thank you very much. Any questions from our professionals on what they've just heard?
Just a question for you, Board. Where is the shed today, that meets the 1.6 foot setback? Is there a shed today?
There's a shed in that back right corner. I'm pointing it out on the site plan to be relocated. That's the 1.6 that you're talking about, we're talking about having that relocated to another spot.
So the 1.6,
Is
Well,
the
it's-
existing,
yeah,
the 1.6 is just coming in
is the
a
existing,
different
we're gonna either eliminate that shed or move it to another spot on the lot that meets the variance.
So you're not asking for a variance?
We're not asking for a variance, because that's too close to the house as it is.
I would concur.
I
Well, if they're
apologize.
moving the shed, it would need,
We say it on the plan that it's to be relocated.
yeah.
I apologize, so no C relief.
Okay, great. No, this is like a very unique case, and I had to double check the zoning and make sure what we had here. And not just their property, but if you look on this tax map, going down the line to lot 19, 18, 17, those are all similarly zoned highway, kind of the same condition. And then even if you go up, is it Van Dyne? I don't know how to call it. Some of those properties that are not on 46 also have this highway zoning. I went back to look to just make sure when we did kind of the zoning changes, how this may have happened, and it was zoned general business before, but like Alex said, all the master plan re-exam said was to rename it. It didn't actually give any policy guidance, so even before the highway zone change in whatever year that was, I think 2022 we did that. Prior, it was a GB zone, which was like another version of the highway zone. You know, the onus, I think, is on the applicant to, if they want to, and maybe not just your property, but I don't know if you're friendly with your neighbors, but it would be interesting to take a look at this, because this is not a highway in character at all. And I think what happens from here, if you approve this, is there will be burdens in the future of any kind of additions would need, like, you know, new D
D2s,
variants,
yeah.
D2 expansions. And I don't know if you'd wanna see what is permitted in the HC zone right here, which could be like a retail store right in the middle of this neighborhood. So, again, it is something we should probably note in an annual report for any kind of future master plan re-exam, because unlike the accessory ordinance where it's easier to tweak that, usually when you wanna tweak any kind of uses or to zoning, you wanna have a little more policy language in a master plan re-exam, so I think that's worth us as like in a planning board function thinking about doing.
Yeah, I think the only building on that whole street that is highway is the vet. I think the vet fronts on both streets, I think. The vet's like 2 doors down.
It's the driving school.
What?
It's no longer a vet.
It's not a vet. Oh, it wasn't a vet?
Yeah.
Private school now? Oh, it was a vet there. And he had fronted on both streets. He hated for us for some reason. I think vet wasn't accepted for the vet.
Whatever it was, yeah.
But-
General business.
One of the main things I also looked at was when you want this use variance, I don't necessarily wanna look at, like, okay, their coverage is allowed at 60%, that's really high. I like that they're keeping it at 26%. I think the adjacent zone, R3, is like 35%, so in terms of these setbacks and coverages, you don't wanna see them do a house and then get the benefit of the highway, coverage or something like that, of a much more coverage, and so I like that they're keeping that.
Yeah, I would just say that, to add on to that, I concur with Golda that, they're kind of taking the best of both of it as far as like a planning perspective. They're not overdeveloping the site, they're, keeping under the impervious coverage limitations of what the adjoining zone would be and things like that. So, I mean, if this was zoned similar to what the neighboring residential properties, you probably never would have seen this application. And either would I, or would Golda, that's what.
The idea being to just create a new dwelling that's more in comport with current standards of construction, is that the idea?
Yes, and aesthetically pleasing as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's an old.
And not right on the road.
Yeah, it's right across the street. You come down the steps, you can run over. If you're not careful.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
I have a question. Looking at exhibit A1, slide 3, one little arrow pointed, I noticed that there's a car parked, they're using some grassy area as a driveway right now. And I see that the new house plan has a 2-car garage and plenty of room to park in between, so I'm pretty sure the borough has an ordinance about no parking on the lawn. I'll need some help with that, but I just wanna make sure that this is designed so that there's sufficient parking and that there'll be no parking on the grass.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there anyone here from the public who would like to question what they've just heard? Seeing none, we're going to open the meeting to the public, and back to you, Counselor.
Thank you. Just in summation, we feel this application meets the criteria.
So you're ready to sum?
Yes, we're.
Okay, before you do that, then I'll open the meeting again to the public. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to question or testify to what they know about this property? Seeing none, we don't have to open the meeting to the public. Now it's time, now I'll let you sum. Thank you very much. I didn't want to interrupt.
No worries. Yeah, so just in summation really quickly, the applicant feels this application meets the criteria for a D1 variance as has been discussed by the professionals and the board. It's a unique property. It's the characteristics of the area are residential, notwithstanding the zoning designation, and the board can properly grant this variance.
Thank you very much. We have a motion from the board.
A motion for approval.
I'll second it.
We have a motion that's seconded. Is there any discussion?
The only discussion I'd like to make mention of is that the shed that's gonna be, that's
Reposition.
that it get repositioned so that it meets the codes.
Okay.
That's all.
So there would be no variance relief for the shed then?
No variance for the shed, but that when it gets moved, I mean,
Need a variance.
there's, if you put it somewhere in that triangle side of the house, there's a lot of room over there, you can stick that shed and not have any problems.
So we had that interpretation thing, so we're going with 5 feet? Because
Is it
based on that last application, you guys interpreted the 10 feet.
Well, what's the setback in the zone?
Um,
We're in a different zone now?
yeah, that's true.
Oh, we use 10 feet?
I just closed everything.
Variance required 10 feet.
10 feet.
So are you looking for 5 feet or 10 feet?
10 feet. Okay, so
10 feet, I think is realistic.
So no relief is asked for the shed, but it will be relocated to become in compliance with the 10 feet setback.
That's correct.
Very good. Any other discussions?
So we're saying that we're going to, the recommendation is to approve the D variance with an indication that the shed will be relocated in a spot where it won't require any relief. True?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any final discussion? May we have a roll call vote, please?
Ken Van Born,
Yes.
Ron Hammond,
Yes.
Ian Butler,
Yes.
Mark Howard,
Yes.
Barbara Koch,
Yes.
Janet Leonard,
Yes.
Bob Schaefer,
Yes.
and Chairman Blair.
Yes. So, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And next, we have a correspondence.
Thank you. With the, thank you, the volunteers there with us.
So now,
Ken?
yep, while we have a change in venue, I'll request a 5-minute recess. And for any members of the public that are here, the board is going to go into executive session, which we're allowed to do as a planning board. So we're gonna have to ask everyone to leave the room.
Are you gonna have a portion of the public comment? The only reason I've got something to ask you or give you.
Do you have a question for us? Sure.
I guess it's a question. I'll send an email to you afterwards. I filled in a form if there were ever any vacancies on the land use board, or if you're interested in new members, I would like to submit a form
And what's the form for?
to join your board.
We
So I know there aren't any vacancies right now.
The members of the public that serve on the board serve at the mayor's leisure.
Yes.
So it's, there's not, you can give us a form, but there's nothing we can do
Well,
with
it's
it.
more, I'm gonna email the form. So
You need-
I've done this before for other boards, I'm on the environmental commission,
Okay.
and I will be emailing the form. I just thought, seeing as I'm here, and if it does get passed along to you, I know that it goes to the mayor and the council liaison, I just wanted to.
We're full board.
Yeah, first, we don't have any vacancies, and second, the board members don't recommend other board members.
Oh, no, I
It's
know.
strictly up to the mayor to determine who's gonna be on the board.
Understood. It was
Any
more,
one of us could be asked to leave at any moment. The councilman and the mayor and I think you as a representative in the town are permanent fixtures.
yeah, I understand that, Mr. Black. It was more on there,
If you
right?
want to-
Allow it.
Thank you, Katie. Understood.
I want to, or maybe.
If you have some paper you wanna
Again,
give
it's-
to our secretary,
I can, you can put it in this pocket.
Yeah, I'll also email it to you, Colleen, just I plan to.
If
It
there's
was
an
more-
opening, yes.
When there are vacancies in the future.
Yes, and there might be, yes, so, okay,
You know.
thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much. And as I said, now we have to go into executive meeting, so we have to be without public here.
So, Colin, you want